Hello everyone, welcome back to Discovering Dawson's Creek here on It's a Wonderful Podcast. Oh, I've just realised we're quite close to the end of the season, Jeannine. It seems to have come kind of out of nowhere. Although it's weird, isn't it, how that sort of mentality starts to happen, because I think last episode of Discovering Dawson's Creek, I was talking about, we're halfway through the season now.
Yeah.
But as soon as it gets to like episode 16 of a season of 22, 23 episodes, you're thinking, oh, okay, there's not long left to go now. But then episode 13 still feels like halfway. It's weird because it is.
Yeah.
It's strange how that can quickly kind of shift.
Maybe. Yeah.
Maybe it's because of certain things that transpire in these two episodes we are talking about today that feel very transition from one storyline into the other storyline while being incredibly significant themselves. It's not, we're not in the realm of filler here. We're not in the realm of let's just throw a random episode in there between storylines for the sake of it. This is very clearly one storyline has or several storylines have obviously come to an end. Our first episode today actively deals with 4 stories. It's called 4 stories of the sort of aftermath of the major storylines of season 4 up to this point. And then as we get into episode 16, we're then clearly kind of moving on into that final push of a storyline for the rest of the season. And I'm very annoyed, fundamentally. Jeannine, it's an annoying episode, or annoying couple of episodes. I will be most annoyed for the majority of today's episode of Discovering Dawson's Creek. Simply because I don't like to see this sort of behaviour from Joey, namely, who I've always defended and always liked and always felt I understood. Despite some iffy things in the past, I've always kind of stuck by. I don't know if I can do it anymore. I don't know if after this I can do it anymore. This was just a bit too, why have you done this? I was questioning so much about her decisions in these 2 episodes, obviously following on from her and Pacey sleeping together for the first time. Very significant.
Yeah, very romantic, beautifully played out, and then, really rough coming out of that.
Really rough coming out of that, and tragically so for everyone involved. Tragically so for Joey herself, really. And it's all down to her. Nobody else has done anything wrong in this situation. Dawson hasn't even done anything wrong.
No, and her decision
He's doing all right.
is affecting like 3 other people and their relationships. So
and I'm just not quite sure why. I'm just not quite sure why. Bold statement to begin today's episode. Pacey should leave Joey because it's incredibly disrespectful to not acknowledge you having slept with your active partner. Like, if you are with somebody, why on earth would you feel the need to hide the fact you may have slept with them? I don't care how old you are, but you are actively with somebody. They're 18 or 17, 18. That kind of age, aren't they? Obviously 18. Why would you feel the need? It's enormously disrespectful to your partner, and you shouldn't be with somebody that is quote unquote embarrassed to tell someone they've slept.
I mean, even despite those circumstances, like, there are kind of separate circumstances for the person that she has this fear of telling in Dawson.
There are, yes, but they should no longer exist.
Exactly. I think they've outgrown, gone beyond any factors that could make their relationship weird to Dawson at this point.
Yeah.
So that is not, 100%. That should not be, she should not be able to use that as an excuse anymore.
No.
So the fact that she does, and she continues to, because I think she, factored it even into the decision of them sleeping together, and Pacey, being able to clock those moments when she has reservations about something. He immediately and fairly, I think, jumps to the fact that like Dawson's feelings are involved in it. And she will, at some points try to deny it, which I think she does here as well. But ultimately, it kind of leads to her making a really stupid and I think very frustrating decision.
Because the most annoying thing about it all is Dawson himself has actively moved on and himself is actively acting like a more mature person for this
and he even kind of regresses to a sense when it comes to that thought of Joey, which we'll get into. But then immediately kind of sits and thinks about it and realizes, I shouldn't have asked that. I shouldn't, be feeling these things. I'm very happy where I'm at. So it was really kind of a moment of weakness, a moment of kind of nostalgia, a moment of, kind of thinking back on something, from the past, that made me ask that made me think that made me feel this way about it. And now that I've kind of had the time to sit with it, now that I've had the time to kind of contemplate potentially not letting go of something, causing me to lose something that I have now that I really care about, that's giving me this perspective. And he immediately kind of retracts the kind of relief he had when Joey tells him what she tells him. So we
can hold our hands up and say, fair enough.
Dawson's doing,
you've understood that.
We can kind of understand your feeling about this, but you kind of giving yourself the time for once to sit on something and come to a really quick realization is a lot of great growth for Dawson. So the fact that we're getting kind of the most frustration from Joey is a weird kind of shift, but here we are.
It's just very, very unfortunate, very disappointing.
Yeah.
Very sad, and I can't see him possibly coming out of this. I can't see it ending in a way where I can't see it ending well. I can't see it ending in a way where Joey ends up getting over it, because for God's sake, it's long past now. We should have thought about this, and we did think about this all that time ago when we were first getting with Pacey, didn't we? But we pushed through that, so why can't you push through this?
Through this as well, exactly.
It's my point that I kind of made last week of it being the whole first time sleeping with each other situation being taken way too
seriously. Yeah.
It's just I don't like any of it. I don't like any of it. Get the binder out. The binder's already out, Jeannine. We'll get into episode 15 of season 4 called 4 Stories.
Yes, so 4 Stories aired February 14th, 2001. The morning after, Joey and Pacey discover they've overslept and missed the bus back to Capeside. While they wait for the next one, the couple find themselves confronted with the tensions that accompany the latest development of their relationship. Meanwhile, a punishment for breaking into her hotel minibar during the class ski trip, Mr. Kasdan decides to send Jen to a psychologist where she can discuss her inner teen issues. Back in Capeside, Joey and Dawson's paths collide as they spend an evening catching up on the past weekend and its many happenings. Sensing a change in Joey's demeanor, he poses the unthinkable question, forcing Joey to consider whether honesty is the best policy. Dawson has to come to terms with Brooks's death and is surprised to discover he is in his will.
Yes. That's a sort of odd synopsis, I think, for this episode, given that it's in the completely wrong order
of things,
of how things actually take place in the episode. Because it's 4 stories that each have their own title. The titles are as follows. We have about last night, which is the
Mhm.
Pacey and Joey talking about
Aftermath.
their experience. We have the big picture, which is Dawson having come back from Brooks's funeral and kind of sifting through all his possessions
Stuff.
with grams and all that kind of stuff. Excess baggage, which is Jen's punishment and going to see a psychiatrist, which I just think is yet another example of the unfortunate toll of Jen Linley to be thrown and cast aside in the entire story of Dawson's Creek, because it's all about the three people and then Jen. And it's just like, why is Jen always
why is she so why is she so separate from the rest of the group?
She's so separate constantly, and then seems like old times, which is the final one of Dawson and Joey having a bit of an evening together, which admittedly, as a concept, is quite nice, apart from the big problem of it. Because how lovely would it be for Joey and Dawson to be able to just go out for the evening as normal friends? They even have, Dawson specifically has this reasonable sort of conversation about it, as no matter who we're with, no matter where our lives take us, well, you'll always be my best friend. There'll always be a place, you'll always have a place in my heart. No matter what. It's not like he doesn't know she's now fully with Pacey and all that.
And that's a possibility.
There's been a lie to do with the sleeping with situation. There has, but I have to believe Dawson in that moment that he means that. So it's a lovely kind of idea to think of these two old friends, no matter what, will remain good friends, best friends, can have this relationship going forward that doesn't have to be soap operatic. And that's a lovely thought. It then becomes soap operatic because of Joey, not because of Dawson for once, and that's just deeply annoying. But we'll start with obviously Joey and Pacey in the aftermath, and it's just, I hate everything that's going on, because why are you so embarrassed now?
I mean, even just the waking up, like the fact that, she looks back at him in the morning in bed and she has this kind of strange look, and it's a weird kind of vibe right after. Like, what has changed? What is different from just how sweetly you kind of initiated the situation? And so the next morning, I think Pacey's concerns are valid, because she's seemingly acting like it wasn't that great for her. So, I get her feelings when she kind of goes into insecurities, kind of comparing herself to the other significant sexual relationships Pacey has had.
Now,
I think that's very fair.
That is absolutely fair. 100%. I completely agree with that. But all this, I'm embarrassed to have done it now. I shouldn't have said it. No, we don't. You don't get to be like that anymore. That's not a thing anymore. We're past that. It's essentially, I feel like I'm regurgitating the same things, but it's a little bit of, maybe I'm being overly harsh, but grow up at this point.
Exactly. It's like, why did it have to take all that pushing and coaxing and arguing for her to get to this beautiful point of him brushing her hair off her face in the middle of it and saying that that's like the moment about it she'll remember, how much care he had for her in the act of it, in the moment,
which is lovely.
Why did it have to take all of this coaxing and pushing and arguing and fighting it? And it was good, it was really nice.
It was really
nice.
Did it take? And Pacey's like, well, really nice. Well, that's a terrible way of describing.
Had she just opened with, I remembered this beautiful moment in the middle of it of da 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 da, and there you have it. Like, why are you getting all, I don't know. I get there are a little
ramifications of everything else. Like, just live at that time in that place. You are at that time in that place. You've actively missed the bus back from the ski trip, so you're having to make your own way back because you're now on your own. You don't have the pressure of everybody else looking at you have this conversation. You're on your own.
Exactly. And I can understand maybe that hesitancy and that shyness to come about when they're having to maybe discuss it or feel that awkwardness or, feel eyes on them, everyone thinking that, kind of assuming what they did over the weekend.
Yeah.
And I could understand her feeling that way and not wanting to talk about it in that kind of environment. But you're right. They are not in that environment. They are wholly alone to kind of bask in it, to discuss it, to talk about, how it felt and what it meant to them and all of these, and have this real conversation privately without the eyes of the other students who probably know what they did staring back at them. And so the fact that she's just kind of, again, making this huge deal of it, being really shy about it, like not really, being too hesitant to say what it really meant to her, is kind of annoying. So, I like I said, I can side with her on one aspect of her being kind of nervous in the fact that, like, yes, Pacey has had these epic loving relationships with women that he absolutely was 100% in love with and devoted to. And those were 2 sexual relationships on her one first time here with this person. So all of that valid, but kind of just, I don't know. I just don't know why she's in such a kind of strange headspace the next morning.
No.
Because he seems to be glowing as well. Like he seems to be.
He is.
So, I just don't understand why she's acting this way. And just kind of being so cold to him, and even kind of that when he notices, like, you haven't touched me, like I've noticed, like, all morning you have not initiated any kind of touch towards me, kind of thing. So
there is also quite a selfish sort of assumption from Joey that, of course, Pacey would be fine with it. Like, she doesn't check to see if Pacey had a good time either. Pacey's doing the checking. Pacey's doing all the checking here.
Like, and he wants to make sure he made it special for her. Yeah,
of course, as he should. This is also obviously a very mutual thing. So there must be some sort of back and forth of, was it good for you? Yes or no. Was it good for you as well? Yes or no. And there's not that second part. It's kind of, it takes ages for it. It takes Pacey saying, you haven't kind of asked me if I would, if it was good for me, and then she ends up doing, and he's like, yes, of course, it was wonderful.
Like, I want to shout it out to the mountaintops and say, like, how wonderful it was, and So I just don't get her next morning reaction. Like, it's very overblown, over concern. She has one kind of valid concern, but other than that, like, I just don't know why she's kind of acting like this. But we ultimately end up circling back to them being alone outside, and her kind of explaining the really sweet moment of him brushing her hair off of her face, and talking about how beautiful it ultimately was for her, and that she can't wait to do it again, and this whole kind of thing. So that ends all very nice. I have to believe, I
have to believe, but we also get this promise of, well, if Dawson asks you, what are you going to tell him?
Oh yeah,
I'm going to tell him. I'm going to tell him we did it. I'm 100%. You can trust in me. That is what I'm going to say.
Oh yeah, yes, that's very important.
By the end of the episode, does it, Nora, as we would likely say?
Yeah.
No, it does not. Basically, but before we get to that final sort of Joey Dawson little segment, we get the Dawson and after Brooks's funeral thing, and it's all very. That's all very sentimental. Grams is there sifting through all of, Arthur's belongings.
Yeah, old movie props and posters. Him and Gretchen are kind of looking through a box, and they find this old play he wrote, and they have fun kind of reading some of the lines. But Dawson
there's a certain... Yeah, sorry. I think we were about to probably say the same thing.
Yes, that Dawson interestingly like expresses this frustration that this man was just so, was so accomplished and so smart and so great at being a filmmaker, but nobody knows about him and nobody
And it's his
cared.
own fault. It's
Yeah.
Brooks' own fault that
Yeah,
nobody
because he pushed,
knows.
he pushed people away at a certain point and gave up on his dream. Um, he came around to by the end of it, but that was like too little, too late. But yeah, Dawson expresses this frustration that like five people at his funeral, two of them being his parents who and Gretchen who
Yeah.
didn't really know him. Um, so he just thinks it's so sad. And I get that. And Gretchen is really great. Like I love Gretchen as an addition. Like she's such a smart, thoughtful character. Like the advice she gives him,
Yeah.
like remember the good moments you had with him. Remember, how he chose to live his life by the end of things. Not all the kind of in between where he was mean and pushed people away. Like celebrate what the man you ended up knowing and really caring about. And so, that gives him kind of that perspective. And, he has to think about as well. Like, Dawson, you made this whole movie about him. You're so frustrated that more people didn't know about him or his work. So make
Yeah.
that your mission to like
Well,
spread the word about him and share his
I,
work with people and show this movie that you made about him. And yeah.
I mean, I was literally going to say that he's so frustrated that what's the point? Nobody knows him. What if I become like this? I
Yeah.
want to be a filmmaker, but what if I get like this? And he's panicking and he's overthinking everything. He's spiraling at this moment. But it's almost as though he doesn't realize he's made he's made an active documentary about the life of this, forgotten filmmaker that he could, if he wanted to, go into the public and share with people.
Yes.
Go around.
Yeah.
Has he not done film festivals before? Yes, he has.
With
So come on,
lesser
let's
projects.
with far lesser projects. So come on, let's spread the
Let's
word
spread
of
the word about
AI
AI
Brooks, then, shall
Brooks.
we?
Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah,
so why are
and
you getting annoyed about it? Why are you getting annoyed
yeah.
when it's actively in your hands?
Yes, and that's why I love that Gretchen is there to kind of balance it out for him and give him some perspective because he's reverting back to old Dawson, who's just kind of immediately getting kind of upset with something that's out of his control or whatever. And, she brings him back down and like says, I credit him for me realizing that I wanted to be with you. We watched that movie and I saw how excited you
Yeah.
got about it and this enthusiasm in you. And it made me want to be a part of your life in some significant way because I saw, you light up watching this film that he made and learning about him. And, so that kind of gives him some much needed perspective. So, yeah, I like ultimately how, I get his frustration, but I like that Gretchen's there to kind of give him that perspective. And then a man comes in and says he's the, executor of the estate and has this,
Yeah.
news for Dawson that he was in Mr. Brooks's will. So, um, and he's
We
left
don't know
him,
exactly what he's left, I don't think,
yeah.
do we?
Yeah, they kind of say like he left him his money and stuff because he says, do something
All of
good
his
with
money?
it. Well,
Like,
I mean,
has Dawson inherited everything? Because that seems pretty significant.
right? Well, I mean, how he kind of explains it to Joey ultimately sounds maybe like he left him like a significant amount of money because he
Yeah,
talks about it maybe paying for college. And he says,
yeah,
he was very specific in the note, like do something important with it. And if you choose to spend it on women and booze, then spend it on the best booze and the best women or whatever he says. So he's left him with something significant enough for Dawson to think he could pay for college with it. So
yeah.
yeah, so that's kind of where that little segment ends as
Because
well.
obviously, Dawson's the one who needs more financial income.
Oh yeah, single child
Being
will for now
yeah,
to yeah,
to
yeah.
reasonably wealthy Cape Side couple, the Learys.
Yes.
Why not give the money to Joey? Although the B&B is doing fairly well. So
yes, and I mean now his parents are like, restaurateurs, so I don't know how.
restaurateurs, yeah.
So I don't know how much money they're making now,
Well,
but
that's true. It's more of a venture, isn't it?
yeah, and
Just
his dad has been
separate.
unemployed this whole time, so
I mean, that's also true. They're traditionally wealthy.
yeah, now he's like football coach, substitute teacher, guidance counselor, fill-in. I don't think he's
Yeah.
making college tuition money with that, but yeah.
No, maybe not.
So maybe he might need it. Now that I think about it, yeah.
Possibly.
Yeah.
Then you get obviously the and then there's Jen storyline, which
Yeah.
Jack's barely involved in the episode again. Jen is just sent to this psychologist man who looks ridiculous, and for some reason there's some sort of crush that's developed in Jen towards this man as well. We see that more in the next episode, I suppose.
Yeah.
But why? I don't get why it's there. I don't get why this part's there.
I mean, so this is kind of her punishment for hitting the mini bar, and I guess it's just kind of an unbiased outlet to kind of talk about all the things that she's dealing with. Because, I don't know that she can be this honest with Jack,
Can
without
she
kind
not?
of well, I mean, just considering, when they did take the time to kind of bare their souls, it turned into kind of what it turned into.
Well,
Um,
yes.
and
I suppose.
the therapist kind of brings up that interesting kind of point of, just the complication in her relationship with Jack that, you know, he kind of ends up feeling like a placeholder for her, in terms of having somebody there that like can give her everything she needs in a relationship except kind of the relationship part of it.
Yeah.
And so maybe kind of depending on Jack to that deep degree to share these things with him, um, might just form more complications like the one they had
Yeah.
at so yeah, she kind of goes in there and she's like very nervous and kind of trying to be conversational, and then he's kind of throwing it back at her with, why is that important to you to know things about me?
I think
And then
he's very clever as a psychologist.
yeah, exactly. And so, she's trying to kind of deflect talking about herself, and she's breaking things in his office and being clumsy. And, she gets nervous when she sees him writing things down that she says. And then she kind of writes him off and tries to storm out. And then, kind of just in a little bit of time observing her, he kind of clocks all of the things that are correct about her. And so that kind of, he does this a bit of, psychology on her to
Yeah.
get her to stay. And so ultimately, it seems like, this could be something that she needs, just somebody to talk to that's unbiased. It's not Grams, it's not Jack, someone she can kind of just lay bare and tell everything to, that will just kind of listen and maybe give her more perspective. So I don't know. I think,
Yeah.
considering we've seen all the stuff Jen's gone through, and I think therapy's not a bad idea for her character. But again, it's just kind of annoying what they're doing with her, keeping her so separate and giving her kind of these insignificant storylines.
Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I don't think, I'm not saying why is it there in the sense of why is Jen going to therapy. I do agree with you. I
Yeah.
think that's a good idea. I
Yeah.
just, you're totally separating her from every other storyline again. And
Yeah.
why do we need this right now? Why is this in here right at this moment?
Yeah.
Why is it considered punishment as well? And I'm not so keen on that sort of idea of your punishment is going to therapy. Well, that's not a great look for therapy, is it?
Yeah. Yeah.
If you're considering it a punishment.
Therapy as a consequence, yeah, as opposed to kind of like a willing action to like better your mind or whatever you're dealing with. Yeah. Yeah.
So there's a lot of just iffiness going on, I think, with
Yeah.
this particular storyline. But the concept, Jen talking things through with a therapist, is good. It's
Mhm.
just I want it to actively be involved in the rest. We're watching two shows. We're watching the regular, most mainstream Dawson's Creek, which is Dawson, Pacey, Joey. And then we're also watching Jen Linley's Adventures in Cape Side.
Yeah, because I mean,
they never cross paths. They just don't. They haven't done for like a season.
Right? And like Gretchen is getting more significant kind of screen time and story time
more
than
significant.
Jen. Yeah. So
Much
it's
more
kind of frustrating.
No wonder.
Yeah. This love triangle has kind of taken over this season and taken over kind of the bulk of the storylines. So that just kind of leaves Jen with nothing really to be a part of there. So yeah. So I think, once we move to college, I think there will be more of a kind of an even dynamic shift for sure. So
well, everything surely changes when they all move to college, because it's obviously out of Capeside. You won't actively be in Capeside anymore, will they? So there'll be a different feeling show, I suppose.
Yes, which we're almost there. I mean, handful of episodes left, and we'll be.
Yeah, I imagine those last couple of seasons are college years, aren't they? So 5 and 6.
So 5 and 6, will be college stuff.
Okay, very nice, very nice. Here is our finale little storyline for this first episode, though. Of course, Dawson and Joey's evening out together, which, as I said before, it's a very nice conceptual.
Yeah, I mean, they probably would have been safer going to see his girl Friday, like they were planning on seeing. But
yes,
yeah,
you would have thought so. That'd have been nice, wouldn't it?
Yeah,
everybody likes his girl Friday.
Good right. Yeah,
been ages since I've watched that as well. Oh, it's a good watch sometimes.
It's a very good watch.
It's an easy one.
Yeah.
But it just, the whole thing, I mean, I said it all before in my opinion of it. It just really, really frustrated me. I really quite liked Dawson checking himself and coming back and saying, I shouldn't have done that. I shouldn't have asked that question. Sorry about that. I know that probably made you very uncomfortable. I can't deny that when you said no, it was a sigh of relief out of me.
Yeah.
But that's, I really should not have acted in that way. I'm very, very sorry. I'm going to can we just kind of like brush that away and not think about it anymore? And Joey's all up in her head about it.
Yeah, well, I think that all happens kind of in the yearbook situation and in the next episode. But yeah, this one he does kind of notice. Well. Yeah, so at the end here, like he's seeing, he's like, you look different, like this kind of weird glow about you. And like she, I think she kind of can sense what it is, but of course she's not going to kind of play into it. So then they decide, they're about to part ways. And then he says, you know what, there's something I wanted to ask you, and it's probably super private. And if you don't want to answer, you don't have to answer. But the ski trip, like, did you and Pacey sleep together? And she goes into this whole kind of situation of like, I can't believe we're like having this conversation. And, I can't, thinking back on it, my answer would have always been like, you would have been my first time. And
this was the most annoying part.
Yes. And I couldn't have fathomed thinking about it being with anyone else, especially Pacey.
The way this is phrased, because it's like, if you'd have asked me 2 years ago, or if somebody had asked me 2 years ago, who would be the first person you would sleep with, Joey? Dawson Leary would have been the answer. How could it have ever been anybody else?
Anyone else, especially Pacey.
Especially Pacey. How could it have ever been anybody else? Well, you know what, Joey? It isn't 2 years ago now. Stop thinking like it's 1999. It's 2001 now, Joey. Times have changed. Come on.
Exactly. So now, and then she says all of that to lead into saying, so the answer is no, we didn't sleep together. Because he asked her flat out.
Threw something at the television.
Yes. And then Dawson kind of lets out this sigh. And I think that sigh validates her lie. She's like, okay, I did the right. And then, so I feel like she, you see this relief on her face as well when he kind of like, oh God, like she's like, okay, I made the right decision by lying to him, because look how relieved he is.
Let's just
we can hold on. Yes, we can hold on to this little piece of something between us and just keep it in our back pocket, because he will go on thinking that, like, I'm still, waiting for him in some way. Like, that's what it felt like.
It'll come
Yeah,
out this.
well, it
We see it
does
in the
to a
next
degree.
episode.
Yes.
Well, it
And
does
the
to a
way,
degree, but we'll see it in
yes,
the next episode. It will come out to a point where Pacey is told she lied. This is going to happen. Pacey will get told that Joey did not tell
well, he
Dawson.
does. He does in the next episode.
Oh, it's actually in the next. Does Pacey himself get told this?
Yeah.
Have I misread? Have I misremembered something?
I think you misremembered something. Well, we'll get into it.
Oh God. Well, no. Yes. The point being, it's not going to, the confrontation between him and Joey. Then is not going to. It's just no.
No, like Pacey plays it really interestingly at the end of that, at the next episode. But yeah, so she flat out lies, and Dawson feels some kind of sense of relief, and they hold on to this little moment, and they part ways. So yeah, it's kind of frustrating.
Yeah.
Like,
very.
I was not happy with Joey in this situation. Like, how can you hurt Pacey this way? It feels, because it's like this, like, you saw how a big deal it was with the whole essay situation. But like, when you were considering who knows you best, and you wanted it to be Dawson, and you were afraid to tell Pacey, and like made this big deal out of it.
Why not just be truthful with everybody?
Yes. And like Gretchen lays it out. She's like, all of this lying to not hurt each other's feelings, like, grow the hell up kind of mentality. She was like, it's not helping anybody.
Episode, isn't it?
Yes.
Let's get into that then. Let's get into episode 16. Mind games. I don't know why there's mind games being played. There's no need for mind games to be played, but of course there is.
There's not. No. So mind games. Episode 16 aired March 28th, 2001. The results of the senior polls have ramifications for Dawson, Joey, and Pacey as the three try to ignore the tauntings of poll master Drew Valentine.
Well, Pacey and go away as well. I'm sick of saying
go the hell away. While Pacey and Joey try to eke out some time alone together, Dawson finds his night alone with Gretchen more awkward than he'd expected. Gretchen learns that Joey lied to Dawson about sleeping with Pacey and is angry, and Joey is forcing her to lie to her boyfriend. Meanwhile, Jack's suspicious when Jen drags him on some mysterious errands, and his suspicions are confirmed when he realizes just what she's up to.
I mean, I did fear at one point with the Jack and Jen stuff that it wasn't going to be Jen taking Jack somewhere because she has this crush on her psychologist. I feared that Toby would be involved in some way.
Oh my God. I could not deal with some Drew nonsense and some Toby nonsense in the same episode. Lord. The two worst additions to this season are Toby and Drew. Like, ugh.
I would contemplate the two worst additions to the whole show.
And they really could have done some interesting things with Drew, played him up like a bit of an Abby Morgan and worked him into an interesting way with Jen stuff. And like, they added like some things. They add these little pepperings of things where we can sympathize with him in terms of, how terrible his mother is and how he feels abandoned by his father and those kinds of things. So like they pepper in these sympathetic things like they did with Abby as well. But it's just not working. Like, he's just not. No. He just feels so unnecessary. So we can talk about that stuff, kind of get it out of the way. The fluff of the Jen storyline and the kind of this opening of Drew. He joins the yearbook committee just so he can kind of mess with the polls of like the most likely to succeed and whatever.
I've always found this concept absolutely hilarious because it's.
Oh, you don't have that.
Look, I don't know. I don't know if they have it now in schools because British schools are kind of sociologically are continuing to become more and more Americanized because obviously, British schools never used to have proms, and I had a prom when I went, so it was. I imagine there is some sort of yearbook situation now where everybody has votes for.
I think they're called superlatives. Is that what they're called? I think
it sounds right.
I think that's what they call them. Yeah.
I've always found it in the amount of American, school-based television I've watched in my life, it's ridiculous. But I've always found it absolutely hilarious as an idea, just utterly silly as an idea, really. All these voting for who is the king and queen, what's the point?
Yeah, I mean, my brother and sister both
Who's the
got
stupidest
those.
person?
I
Who's
did
the
never got
stupidest
any.
person? Who's the cleverest person? Who's the one that's most likely to succeed? Who's the one that's going to end up in prison? Like, what? Why are we doing this to
Yeah,
16-year-olds? Or
yeah,
to
no, my brother and
18-year-olds, I suppose,
yes. See, it's the
in the US.
senior things for those, and of course, I didn't get any of that. My sister got most likely to succeed. My brother got crappiest car because we had this really
What's
awful.
that about? That's just unfair. Like,
Right?
the man's driving, let him drive.
Yeah, we had this really crappy station wagon that like the roof of it was like falling down. I think we had to tie one of the doors with a rope. Like it
Oh,
made
God.
like a really loud sound. It was a terrible car.
That's
So
quite fun.
that was his car his senior year. So yeah, crappiest car is what he got.
Listen
I
though.
didn't get
Did
any
it
of
get
that,
it? Did
but
it get him from place to place? Yes, it did.
it did, yes, but I had to embarrassingly get rides, in that thing. So yeah. But yeah, so he, goes out of his way to manipulate these superlatives for like cutest couple, and he goes into the cafeteria and gets on a chair and announces it. That cutest couple or whatever is Pacey or is Joey and Dawson, because he just thinks it's so funny to mess with them. And Joey's like pissed and she makes kind of a big deal out of it, and Dawson's like, whatever, like it's just stupid, like pranks, not a big deal. Like Dawson doesn't really care as much as she does. So the fact
No,
that
but
like
I understand.
we're continuing to establish Joey just kind of caring a little too much about things that involve the three of them. Like Dawson has kind
Yeah.
of gotten past the turmoil of it and the kind of eggshells of it. Pacey also has. She's still in this weird place of like making it this big mountain of a thing.
Yeah. To the point where Pacey and Dawson actively like speak to each other fairly pleasantly again now. And they're kind of fine with each other again now.
Yeah.
And
Yes.
we don't even have to worry about that. Why we're dredging up this take everything way too seriously nonsense again from the perspective
Yeah.
of Joey,
And also
I don't understand.
And also Joey making such a big deal and taking this protective stance for Pacey and Dawson in this thing and their feelings is just
They
kind of
don't need
feels
that.
they don't need that. A, B, it feels very hypocritical after what she's just done to quote unquote protect them. And C, like she has to kind of realize she's the only one who's like making a big deal out of this,
Also, though,
So
I mean, I understand Drew fudged the numbers, so it looks like, or fudged the voting,
the
so it
poll
looks
results,
like,
yeah.
King and queen or whatever it would be Dawson,
Best couple,
and
yeah.
Joey, best couple
or
would be
whatever.
Dawson,
Yeah.
Dawson and Joey. But also, like, I could 100% believe the rest of the students in Cape Side High not realizing Pacey and Joey were a couple now, and just assuming for longevity's sake that the couple that it had to be was Joey and Dawson, because we're sat here obviously watching Dawson's Creek. These people are the main characters. They're the center of the world. They're absolutely everything. But to like, Robert from biology class, he doesn't care about these people. He might just think, oh yeah, that's Dawson and Joey. They're together, right?
Sure,
Yeah,
they're still
they've always
together,
been
right?
together, them guys.
Yeah, exactly. So, and why would Drew go out of his way?
The random population of the school is just voting for the people they always see together. So yeah, obviously it's Dawson
Sure, why
and
not?
Joey. That
And they
makes
don't
sense.
care enough to fact check it. So it's
Who
like,
would care?
Exactly. Who would care, Drew, for you to even go to the trouble of joining the yearbook committee just to do this? Like, so stupid. Yeah, so this was just like a dumb storyline thing. Anyway, so then we move on to the side quest of Jen again, and she, is starting to kind of endear herself to her therapist because he's really listening to her, and she feels very comfortable with him and trust and all of that. And, you know, even kind of in her first session, she was talking about how she feels comfortable, you know, having guy friends and being around men and that whole kind of thing. So
because girls are terrible.
yeah, you know, when they get to a
It's all
certain
very
age,
like,
yeah.
as soon as they hit puberty, everybody goes, "Oh,
All they care about is yes, exactly. And so she starts to kind of feel something for him, and she kind of wants to get to know him because of course he's never gonna like be too personal with her because, you know, just the professional boundaries. So she decides to take
Can't do
Jack.
that though, can you?
Exactly.
You can't be going on a date with your own side.
Exactly. So she tries to take Jack to this coffee shop across the street from his office to see if he comes out to kind of follow where he goes. And Jack is like, this is not a good idea. You're totally stalking him. You're being weird. But supportive best friend, she begs him to help her with this little mission. So they follow him. They go to this bookstore. They're watching him and looking at him from around the corner, trying to see what he's reading. He ends up running into them in the bookstore and they're in the poetry section. So she asks for a recommendation, and he says, "Well, why don't you check out this flyer here for this poetry reading that's going to be happening? She's a great poet. You should check her out." So then Jack and her go to this poetry reading early in the morning. They're looking around, they don't see him, and Jack's like, "Really, you dragging me to this thing and he's not even here? Let's just go." And as soon as they're about to get up and go, he comes and he's like, "Oh, you saved me a seat." So he sits next to them and she's all excited. And Jack's like, "Oh my God, it sucks." And like the concept of the poetry is like weird. Like it's like a really weird kind of poetry, how it's described. So they've sat through this whole thing and come to find out that the poet happens to be the therapist's girlfriend.
Yes.
And she ends up having like a real conversation with him. Like he admits, "Yeah, that's my girlfriend." And, you know, she admits that she feels stupid for going there. And he tries to kind of make her feel comfortable and, you know, kind of is really understanding in like, "I get you needing to know something about me and all this kind of thing. And, you know, we could talk about this on Monday when I see you again. And I understand that you just needed someone to trust. And I was able to kind of be that for you. And you're kind of maybe interpreting that in a way that, you know, is probably not the way you should be interpreting it, but we can talk about this." So he tries to do it in a way to not make her feel stupid for feeling this way. And so I like that at least this kind of thing that she's been feeling is quickly kind of squashed. And so we're not having to kind of
Yeah,
deal with this any longer
sure.
as a storyline, you know? So,
I,
yeah.
I would like that, and I have no qualms with the psychologist himself. I think he's a perfectly reasonable character.
Yeah.
He's not causing any drama at all.
Yeah.
But it's just a bit silly, really. It's
Yeah.
something for Jen to do,
Yeah.
and that's it. Like, where's the depth? We've not had a deep Jen storyline for so long.
For a while. Yeah. And we get little glimmers of things that are interesting, like with her and Grams and the ecstasy stuff and all that. But
Yeah.
but even that pissed me off because everyone was treating her like shit for no reason. So
Or it
yeah,
lasts half an episode. It's not one of these half season kind of things.
things that you like are a developing kind of story that's interesting. So yeah, they're really kind of frustrating with me with what they're kind of doing with Jen because I feel like they don't know. You know, they got rid of Andy because they didn't know what to do with her.
Yeah.
Which
They might as
are
well get rid of Jen. Like,
right?
Michelle
Yeah.
Williams, go and start your actual movie career a bit earlier than you did and crack on and become
Yes, and start your big, you know,
very
Oscar
well for
journey
yourself.
because you're incredible. You've got the most kind of like awards accolades of the whole cast after being kind of, you know, not given tons to do here. But yeah, so those are kind of the lightest storylines kind of we're working with here. And
We
then
just get
we
more of
get
the same with the other nonsense, though, don't we? I feel like I'm
yeah.
going to regurgitate the same points again, and I don't want to. I also don't need to.
Well, yes, well, you did miss a significant kind of situation. So, um Pacey and Joey are kind of looking for some alone time so they can kind of have another little hookup thing because they haven't
Yes.
had one since I think the ski trip. And so Gretchen, Pacey's trying to convince Gretchen to stay the night at Doug so that they can have some alone time.
Yeah.
So she agrees, and then she's at the restaurant with Dawson, and she gets a call from Gail and is talking to Gail. And as Gail's talking to her, she realizes that Gail and Mitch are going to be out of town for kind of a last little getaway before the baby comes. And so she turns to Dawson and she's like, "You didn't tell me your parents were going to be out of town, and I could come over and we could hang out." And he's like, "Well, I didn't want to say it because I didn't want it to feel like a come on. I didn't want it to feel like, hey, my parents are out of town. Come on over, spend the night or whatever." So I appreciate Dawson like not wanting to insinuate anything or
listen. I sure we can appreciate Dawson not wanting to insinuate anything, but also insinuate something. You're with her. What's the harm? What's the problem?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just thinking back to him really kind of forcing things in a disgusting way with Jen, like when he tried to get like their first kiss on tape and
oh God, right, yeah.
Once he found out that she was, yeah, he was very kind of pushy in that vein of things. So I like him trying to take his time here with Gretchen and not really push things or make her feel uncomfortable. But she's very much open to like, hey, yeah, I can come over with some movies and some popcorn and we can hang out and potentially like spend the night. So she packs like, her toothbrush and some things.
Here we have though a great example of the level of difference of maturity here. Like even Dawson, who's doing well this season, like we're thumbs up on Dawson in season 4. Genuinely, we are. But Gretchen's being an adult about the situation. It's like, why not come and spend the night? This is what people do. And Dawson's, it might be a bit, I don't want to do that. Run away. I'm embarrassed to even say it. Grow up again, I'm going to say. Yeah. Everybody needs to now grow up. It's time for them all to go to college and grow up. That's what it's time for.
Yeah.
And it will be time for that soon. But it really psychologically is now. I'm getting to it.
Yeah. So Gretchen, she stops at her and Pacey's place to pick up some things. And he asks if she's staying at Doug's. And she's like, "No, I'm staying at Dawson's." So then it's like, oh, okay. So Pacey kind of, yeah, exactly. And she's just very kind of cool and casual about it. And so Pacey and her are like happy to have the place alone. Pacey informs Joey that she's spending the night at Dawson's. And they both acknowledge that it's weird, which I agree, I understand that. But Pacey's not feeling any kind of way about like being upset. He's just like, it's very weird, the fact, that Dawson could potentially sleep with my sister. Like, I would agree. That's kind of a weird thing to think about. But Pacey's not upset. Pacey's not pissed. Pacey's not like trying to stop it. He's just like, this is weird.
Well, no, because Pacey understands. Pacey's mature enough to understand that he has no right to be upset about
it. Exactly. And so we asked Joey if she feels any kind of way about it other than it being weird. And she's like, no, it's fine. And she kind of has this weird Joey hesitation. Exactly. And feels some type of weird way about it. So we cut to Gretchen and Dawson hanging out on the couch, watching a movie, having a good time. And
are they having a good time?
Yeah, I mean, they're having a good time until they kind of have the conversation. So Gretchen, again, being the mature one, I think they insinuate that they've just finished watching Peggy Sue Got Married, because they bring up Nick Cage and Jim Carrey, and I'm like, I think that's the movie they were in. And
so sure, whatever.
Yeah. And so they realize yes. Well, he sees that she's kind of brought stuff to spend the night, and she's like, "Oh, well, I just wanted to be prepared. I didn't know the situation." And then they get kind of awkward and shy about it. She's like, "You know what? Let's just talk about it. Again, mature Gretchen. Let's just talk it. Get it in the air so we can kind of just move on with the night." And he's kind of hesitant to say something. She's like, okay, fine, I'll go first. And so she talks about her first time being with this guy she dated in high school. Of course, Dawson, having a crush on her, knew the guy that she dated in high school and was like, oh, that guy you did it with, that guy, I hated that guy. And so it's kind of a cute, funny moment. She's like, see, we're laughing. Okay, now your turn. And he's like, well, I don't really have anything to say about it, but because I'm still a virgin. I've never slept with anybody. And she's like, well, just because I've never been to Spain doesn't mean I don't have thoughts on the subject or whatever. She kind of, implies.
It's a great point.
Exactly.
I don't like all of this though. I'm sorry to interrupt the whole situation.
No, you're good.
I do feel like the seriousness of which one's virginity is spoken of in Dawson's Creek. It is shows like this that spoil real world teenagers.
Well, I mean, you have to think about the time it came out. This was very much like safe sex and condoms and all that kind of like very much. But big sex is a big deal kind of thing. Like that's the era I grew up in. Sex was this huge big deal to build up to wait, to use safe protection and all of this whole that was the era of my teen years to really kind of push those ideas. So
I understand that.
I get that kind of being written into the show.
I understand that, but I suppose when I was in high school, yes, you still had it was all, safe sex protection, infections, let's avoid the infection situation. But there was no discussion whatsoever of you must wait, it must be a big deal, you must prepare, it's got to be something that's built up to. Why the hell was anybody ever telling teenagers that?
Yeah.
And shows like this actively emphasize that point. Like,
yes,
it's
but I mean,
be taken way too seriously.
Yeah.
It's like, no, it doesn't have to be taken that seriously.
No, and that's what I love
in the appropriate and safe manner.
But we get a balance of that because I think we have these characters like our lead characters Dawson and Joey who make sex this precious thing, and then Pacey and Gretchen who are much more like understanding of like just the spontaneity and living in the moment of it and doing it when you care about somebody and that kind of thing. So that's why I love that Gretchen is wanting to talk about this so openly. She's not embarrassing Dawson for being a virgin. She's openly talking about her experiences. Even when her and her friends took Dawson to that concert, they were liberally and openly talking about their sex lives and their relationships and not making it this precious thing. So we do get a balance of characters kind of, showing the gamut of sex in this era and talking about sex in this era. So I like how Gretchen just knowing Dawson's maybe nervous about it because he's a virgin. And so her kind of opening up the dialogue and trying to make it a comfortable, casual situation for him to discuss. And so, I kind of like what Dawson's saying here. He's like, oh, well, with Jen, I was 15. And so I wasn't really thinking too much about, asking to make that happen. And with Joey, I kind of thought, it would happen at some point. She wanted to wait. So, I kind of respected that. And that's kind of where it was. And then that didn't work out. So that's kind of where I'm at now. So like, I'm not really against it. I just, the opportunity that I thought it was going to be with Joey just didn't kind of pan out. And so I kind of never really thought beyond that. And he talks about, he brings it up that like, I in the moment when she told me that her and Pacey hadn't done it, I felt kind of this sense of relief, but now it's kind of just this looming thing. So I kind of wish they would have done it on the boat, or even just, I would have just known that they got it over with. And then I could kind of just, let go of kind of the concept of it, of kind of making it this big deal. Because had I known that her and Pacey just kind of didn't get it over with, and I could kind of just not, stop feeling like it has to be this big deal of her and me and what it was meant to be. And so I like him at least being kind of honest about that to Gretchen. And so Gretchen's like kind of confused because we saw Gretchen earlier in the episode have a conversation with Pacey where she saw him kind of also have this glow and be excited and
and Gretchen just clocks it.
Yeah. Pacey, she clocks it, and Pacey, Pacey didn't tell her, she just guessed. And so he kind of confirms, okay, yeah, you're right. So she knows for a fact that they did. And she promises she won't say anything. Because even when she tells him she's going to Dawson's, he's like, oh, please don't say anything. Da, da, da. She's like, of course, I promise you, I won't tell Dawson. Like, I won't tell anybody. And so
Gretchen's just good. Like,
she's so great. She's so great.
Thoroughly team Gretchen.
100%. And so when Dawson's saying all of this about, like, I wish they would have just done it to get it over with, and that I could stop, making this big deal out of it, building it up in my head to be this thing when it doesn't need to be this thing. So I like him being honest about that to Gretchen. And then she's like, well, how do you know they didn't do it? He's like, oh, because she told me. Like, I asked her point blank, like, did they do it? And she said no. And Gretchen is just like,
to which Gretchen goes, oh, interesting.
Yeah. And so then we kind of cut to later in the night, like she constantly kind of kept moving away from him, and now they're like completely separate on the couch. Like they were all curled up in that first movie. And after this conversation and her finding out that Joey lied, they are miles from each other. And I think she's just frustrated because it's like she doesn't want to tell anybody's business or secrets or anything. And it's now a complicated situation that she's in, that she has to kind of lie to him. So that's why she ends up kind of storming out. She's like, I just need to go. And Dawson feels like he did something wrong, but he really didn't. She just is like, doesn't want to have to lie to him. And she's pissed that Joey lied and put her in this situation.
Yeah.
So her being pissed and angry in this moment has nothing to do with Dawson. It's her being pissed that she can't be honest with him. Yeah. It's her being pissed that she can't be honest with Dawson, and she can't talk to him, that this girl lied to him, that it's an affront to Pacey as well, that like she is not brave enough or confident enough or care about their relationship and what they shared enough to just be honest with Dawson about it. Like there's a sense of shame about it to her, which is unfair to Pacey. Yeah.
That's the thing. I don't believe it has anything to do with bravery or confidence. It is shame.
Yeah, it's shame, and it's this kind of immature element of wanting to hold on to some whatever nostalgic shit with Dawson.
Yeah.
And she feels like she's protecting them in some, juvenile way.
Like if you're shamed of doing that, sleeping with someone for the first time, you turn around afterwards and are ashamed of it. I'm not saying that's not okay as a mentality. Of course it is. Like, how many people will have felt that? How many people will have felt shame for the first time because maybe it was a wrong person, maybe a very wrong person, maybe it was terrible, maybe it was just something you weren't quite ready for, you were kind of potentially, unfortunately, pushed into it, and it's all, it could be any sort of situation. So that mentality is fine, but then one must be honest about that.
Yeah. So I mean, I don't think Joey.
It is the honesty that's the problem. It is not the feeling that's the problem.
Yeah.
It's the lack of honesty, the lack of truth, and trying to be nice to everybody and actively being horrible to everybody.
Exactly. So I don't think it's coming from a sense of shame from Joey, but I could see.
Do you not? Because I really,
I could see Pacey reading it that way and being hurt by her saying that. I think it's honestly just from her feeling like she's protecting them naively and feeling like she needs to hold on to this piece of whatever with Dawson. Like she doesn't want to
do. What does she think Pacey and Dawson?
No, I'm not justifying it. But I think
I know.
I think that's her like literal juvenile, ridiculous mentality that she feels like she's protecting them and that she wants to hold on to this piece of nostalgia thing with Dawson. And that's why she made that really stupid decision to lie to him. So
I suppose I'm just trying to pontificate over what on earth Joey thinks Pacey and Dawson are going to do if they are, if Dawson is made aware that she and Pacey slept together. Are they going to parade themselves around going, well, it should have been me. Well, no, it was me. And have some sort of metaphorical measuring contest with each other.
Yeah.
Like, we're not doing that. We're not doing that. You somehow think that's probably going to happen. That's not going to happen. Yeah. That's just not going to happen because Pacey would never do something like that anyway. And Dawson's even past doing something like that now. Dawson would have definitely done something like that a season ago. We saw the whole boat race situation. That was a measuring contest.
Yeah, exactly. So but I don't know why Joey's still.
Now he's actively both of them are in his mentality.
But Joey hasn't. She still is like holding on to this that anything significant happening with her and Pacey is going to be some kind of erasure of the dream of whatever she had with Dawson 2 years prior. And she needs to let that shit go. Like, you're with Pacey, you love Pacey. He was the choice. So be happy with your choice. And everyone is on board now. So the fact that she's still trying to hold on to something and protect from something is just, it's so frustrating.
And you know what? If you're still holding on to it, you made the wrong damn choice then. If you're still holding on to it, you actively made the wrong choice. You shouldn't have gone with Pacey. You were happy to live in the moment in that point, but you're now not happy to live in the moment. So we can, and it's perfectly fine if you want to change your mind, but then one must be honest about wanting to change one's mind.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
If you actively are still so concerned when nobody else is now concerned, then you've made the wrong choice. So Pacey, all this all this kind of comes out. The reasonable thing for Pacey to do, whether he will do this or not, I don't know, but the reasonable thing for Pacey to do is to go, that was incredibly disrespectful. Can we work through this? Is this going to be like a serious problem? And there's a serious discussion that needs to happen. Is it going to be a serious problem? If so, or if we can't have that discussion and Joey starts, getting all in her feelings again and wondering if she's done something wrong again, then it's not right. And I'm sorry, we should be splitting.
Yes. So,
and it's not nice for me to say that. I don't want to say that, but I
know. It's a sucky situation, and it's interesting how Pacey handles it by the end of this when he does know. So Gretchen storms out because she just can't deal with it. She's frustrated. Dawson thinks he's done something wrong, but it's literally just kind of Joey. And she ends up going home. So I think she ended up just going to Doug's. And the next morning, her and Pacey, they had a great night alone. She wants to make him breakfast. They're having a nice little conversation. But then she sends Pacey out to the store to get groceries so that she can make him breakfast. So as he's walking out, she's walking around in his bathrobe. As he's walking out to go to the store, here comes up Dawson. He's like, hey, is Gretchen here? He's like, she's not with you. She's like, no, I think she was mad at me about something. And I just wanted to make sure she got home safe. I haven't heard from her. And he's like, oh, well, no, she's not here. She's probably at Doug's. So, I can, he doesn't want him to come in the house because Joey's walking around there in his bathroom. So he's like, I can call Doug and then let you know. And he's like, actually, can we just call her right now? I really just want to make sure she's okay. So he, what is Pacey going to do? So he's like, yeah, man. Yeah. So they walk in and Joey has to kind of hide around the corner. So they call Doug. They find out that's where she was. He's like, okay, I just want to know she was okay. Can you just let her know that I came by? It's actually, don't tell her I came by. Like, I just wanted to make sure she was okay. He's like, well, I can, if you guys had a fight or something. And he's like, no, I don't think we had a fight. I think she's just maybe, I've done something that she just didn't like or something. Like, I can't remember what exactly he says. And so he leaves. And so Joey's kind of really confused, like, I wonder what fight they had. I wonder what happened, kind of thing.
Almost excited,
then,
one could say.
Yes. And so then Gretchen comes back and she's, Pacey's like at the store or whatever when she comes back, and she comes out there to sit with Gretchen and talk to her. And she's like, hey, so what's going on? Did you and Dawson have a fight? Like, it seemed like everyone was kind of worried about you. And she just is like lays into Joey. She's like, I can't believe you would lie.
Girl.
Yeah. She basically, she's like, I can't believe you would lie to Dawson about this. And she's like, well, this was a very private, she's like, I wish I was here 2 years ago, or a year ago, when all this
Yeah.
went down, so I could really understand like why you guys have this idiotic like need to lie and protect each other in this way, because is it
I
really
mean,
worth it?
literally, I was watching this going, Gretchen, keep going. Just keep
Yes,
going,
keep
Gretchen.
going,
Keep
Gretchen.
going.
And Joey trying to defend herself. No, you weren't here a year ago, so you don't know how difficult it was, and da 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 da. And I don't want to hurt them, and I'm trying to protect them. It's a very private situation, and it's like, well, your very private situation and your lie is not only affecting. It's going to hurt Dawson. It's also going to affect Pacey, and it's affecting me, the person who's trying to have a relationship with Dawson. So you really need to tell him. I don't
And
see any
who
other
is Pacey's
option.
sister?
Exactly. Yeah, and she's like, "You need to tell him. I don't see any other option, because, I'm trying to keep this secret for you. I don't wanna have to lie to him, but so you need to tell him." And, like, it's starting to get really heated, and, like, she's throwing it in Joey's face, like, "This lie is really messed up, and I'm pissed." And, um Joey, like, has nothing to say, and then here comes Pacey back from the store, and she's like, "Oh, Bessie called. I need to go." So she gets kind of frazzled and just makes an excuse and leaves. And Pacey's like, "What's going on?" And Gretchen's like, he could tell Gretchen's upset and mad, and Joey just kind of taking off is weird. And so he keeps pushing Gretchen and pushing Gretchen. So I don't know if you missed this moment, or you maybe, I don't know. This is the moment
Possibly.
where
I was cooking at the time.
okay. So yeah, he notices something's wrong with Gretchen, the fight with Pacey, Joey kind of leaving in a weird way. And she doesn't want to tell him because, she doesn't want to, even though she's pissed at Joey, she doesn't feel like it's her place to tell Joey's secret, which I love, like, so much respect to
Yeah,
Gretchen.
of
And
course.
all of that. So, like, but Pacey keeps pushing it and pushing and bugging her and saying, "What are you talking about lies?" Because she's like, "I'm tired of all these stupid lies and this and that. And you guys think you're protecting each other with your lies." And he's like, "What lies? The only lie I can see is you lying to me, your brother, as you're not telling me like what's really going on. Please just tell me, and I promise I won't tell Joey or Dawson that I know." And so she's like, "Fine, okay." So Joey lied to Dawson. So she tells him right there that Joey lied to
Yeah,
Dawson. Dawson point blank asked her if you guys had sex, and she said no. She said
yeah.
no to him. I don't know
Which,
why. And she says, like, I don't know why she lied. I don't know what the reason was, what her motives were, but she did. And so Pacey's kind of like, oh shit. So then when
of
we see them
course.
kind of, yeah, so then when we see them later walking and talking, at kind of the end of the episode and talking about, oh, winter, the weather's changing, and just having a nice walk and talk, Pacey's not saying
Yeah,
anything. I think
yeah.
he's just, it feels like he's just giving her room to admit it. Because I feel like if she just tells me the truth right now, maybe
It's
we can,
okay.
it'll be okay. If I can just give her the, maybe she needed time, maybe she just needed some
Yeah,
space. And she also has a second opportunity to tell Dawson, because then later at school, we see Dawson ended up joining, in Drew's place, the yearbook committee,
oh,
because Drew,
that's
once
right.
he did his stupid poll and his little meddling, he quit. So Dawson joins the yearbook committee to help out, and he tells her, oh, he did it so that he could change back the polls and make it so
Yeah,
that her and Pacey were cutest couple. And so they're talking, and she's like, and she sees Dawson drinking black coffee, and she's like, since when do you drink black coffee? And it's like, I'm realizing we know so little about each other now, and I can't believe like we're in a place where we know so little about each other now. And then that's when Dawson says all the things you had mentioned earlier, like, I'm sorry I asked that question, it wasn't any of my
yeah.
business. And she kind of asks him about the fight with Gretchen, and he's like, um yeah, I think it doesn't help that I talk about you all the time, but like, I'm realizing that, like, we're in a good place, and I really care about Gretchen, and I don't want to mess things up with her and all that kind of thing. And so she has this kind of opportunity of him apologizing for asking her, and that it's none of his business, and he just wants her to be happy, and this and this and that. Where she could have then laid it out for him and said, I lied, Dawson, we did, and da, 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 whatever. But she doesn't. She
Yeah.
doesn't say anything.
No.
And then we also see Gretchen, Dawson finds Gretchen, and they kind of reconcile, and I love her also, like, you talked about kind of people putting this big deal on sex. She's like, I think trusting someone is scarier and more difficult than sex. Like, sex is like brushing your teeth. sex is just like a motor function, that, can come out of like the care and love and all that stuff. But for the most part, it's just kind of this act. But I think the bigger, scarier thing in a relationship is trust, because trust is something that you give that you can't be sure that you're getting back, And so I love kind of her putting into that perspective. And then they kind of end up, and she's like, it has nothing to do with me wanting to break up with you or anything like that. And, Dawson kind of making it clear that like, he's not still hung up on Joey or anything like that. If that's the impression she got, that he's really happy to be with her and he's happy where it's going and all of that. So they kind of have a nice little conversation and reconciliation. And yeah, by the end of this episode, when we're sitting with, Pacey and Joey as they're talking, he's giving her this room to say something and she's not really saying it.
No.
And that's kind of where we end. And Pacey doesn't let her know that he knows. He just kind of leaves it there. So, yeah.
Well, that's what I mean. I need that conversation. I need that conversation to happen. I don't want it to happen. I wanted to see this through,
Yeah.
But I don't see a way that it ends nicely now. And it's very sad, but it is one person's fault. Why is it always Joey's fault? Why for 2 seasons has it been Joey's fault?
I don't know. She just thinks too much about stuff. Yeah.
Stop overthinking. What Dawson's Creek's very good at is condemning overthinking. One mustn't overthink, and I overthink a lot. But it's a bad trait.
Yeah.
It's a very, very bad trait. But yes, nonsense times in Cape Side, as always. But it's just a somber tone to end the episode on, really, isn't it?
Yeah.
Discovering Dawson's Creek, of course. We'll be back in 2 weeks' time with the aftermath of all this. God knows what's going to happen in episodes 17 and 18. I don't.
Yeah.
I don't have a clue. That's the point of Morgan. That's what we're doing on this show, which, of course, is here on the It's a Wonderful podcast feed and the It's a Wonderful podcast YouTube channel. Of course, subscribe wherever you are watching or listening to today. Ding your notification bell on the YouTube channel. Leave your comments on Spotify. Rate and review everywhere and share it all around. This show alternates every Monday at the moment with Palling with Peacemaker, as we got into season 2 of that show that aired earlier this year. We're just on that for a couple of months, aren't we? There's only 8 episodes of that season. So once that's done, we'll be back with diving into Doctor Who. And of course, Morgan hasn't seen every Wednesday and the main show. It's a Wonderful podcast celebrating old movies every Friday. Our Not Quite Christmas and 70s Christmas horror series going on there throughout December. Still, we do have Christmas Eve and Boxing Day episodes to come this week as well. We know it is Christmas week this week, although is Christmas week the week between Christmas and New Year? Some would say that probably is Christmas week. That's Christmas week, isn't it? Really. But a Merry Christmas and a Happy Holidays to you all. This is, of course, our last Discovering Dawson's Creek before the festive season. Really, takes a hold of everyone. So we must say that. But yes, of course, if you have been watching today, things have been scrolling down at the bottom of the screen all episode long. If you want to support us on Patreon or donate at all, you can find links to do that in the description. Or, of course, just find us on and across all the social medias on the app formerly known as Twitter and on Blue Sky at It's a Wonderful One. Find me on the app formerly known as Twitter at the Purple Dawn with a 3 instead of the E and the because, Jeannine.
3 is a magic number.
On Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky at the Purple Dawn. All your Joey despair is where.
You can find me at Jeannine _ on Twitter, Jeannine on Instagram, TikTok, and Blue Sky. And if you want to get any merch for any of our shows, just check the description for the link or search G9 Design on tpublic.com.
There we go. It does, of course, leave only one thing left to do. And I really don't know what to do it like. So please just do it in a slightly Christmassy way, I suppose, given the time of year.
3, 2, 1. Ho, ho, ho.
Very Christmassy. Ah.